Hey, Commissioner Thomas, this is Preston.
Hey there. You want me to stay on the line until we start, or am I going to get called back?
I can call you back, but I didn't know if you wanted to. I wanted to call you early and make sure we were good to go this morning.
Well, I appreciate that. We're good to go. You can hear me and I can hear you. You just want to call me back in about 25 minutes or so?
Yes, sir. Sounds good to me. I'll call you back here in a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Southern. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Hello?
Hey, Commissioner Thomas, we can hear you in the room still.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we've got you.
Very good. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm waiting without turning anything off.
Gotcha.
Say the point of attack, right? The point of attack tomorrow. I'll tell you this. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's going to be quite extraordinarily different. You can often say extravagant.
From those things going on, we know that the President and Mr. Bannon appropriately told that email to the President. That same day, on the eve of January 6th, supporters of President Trump gathered in Washington at another rally. This rally was held at Freedom Plaza, which is located near the White House, and featured some of the speakers with Katrina Pearson and others being too extreme to share the stage with the President's next point. And as this rally was underway, the President asked members of his staff to speak to the Oval Office. Let's hear from the White House aides who were in the Oval Office.
I was in the office, in the Oval Office, and he asked me to open the door so that he could hear. I guess there was a concert or a rap or something going on. Did he say anything other than just open the door? He made a comment on the what he said, that there was a lot of energy.
When we walked in, the staff was kind of standing up and assembled along the wall, and the President was at the desk. They had six videos on the couch, and the President was dictating tweets that he wanted getting out to send out. Then the President started talking about the rally. He had the door of the Oval open to the Rose Garden because you could hear the crowd already assembled outside on the list, and they were playing music, and it was so loud that you could feel it shaking in the Oval. He was in a very good mood, and I say that because he had not been in a good mood for weeks leading up to that, and then it seemed like it was fantastic that evening.
He asked if members of Congress would be with him tomorrow. And what do you understand by moving donations this way?
Lori, can you hear me?
Yeah, my doctor said to me, non-donated sort of like.
Lori, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Stephanie is trying to get in as a regular member instead of just an attendee, because she's technically a ex officio member of all committees. But she's in there, but she's in here as a she says she's in here as an attendee instead of as somebody that can participate.
Preston's on it. Are you gonna send her an email, Preston? Preston is gonna send her an email.
Okay. There's somebody,
Never mind, he's fixed it, but she's still, okay.
She can unmute and turn her camera on whenever she's ready.
Commissioner Malthus.
Thank you. I'm on.
Okay,
I'm
wonderful.
on.
Collinson and Thomas.
Yeah.
Before we go live with everyone, I wanted to quickly know, I'm going to have to step out at 4:00 for a critical phone call with one of the hospitals. But I'll be right back in and I apologize if I couldn't get it.
okay, I don't know if it'll go longer than that. It might, I don't know. It's fine. We'll be at the end anyway by then, I hope. The only other thing to mention is that somebody on an 864 number that is supposed to be a participant, I mean, it's supposed to be just an attendee, must be as a participant because I can hear the echo in the background.
I think that's Commissioner Thomas.
That's Commissioner Tom.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you want
sorry.
me to,
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Okay, I'm sorry.
Do you want me to mute I can mute myself on my own phone. But
No, you
I'm
don't
just
need
scared
to
of
now
that
because I
mute
don't hear it
stuff.
anymore. You must have turned off whatever
Okay.
it was. You don't need to mute now.
I
It's
ain't
fine.
touched anything, but okay.
It's fine now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was you. And obviously, I don't know if anybody knows, but Ed will not be here today. He sent me an email earlier. So it'll just be me and David that'll be taking on the committee. And of course, Stephanie's here as an ex officio member. So technically, we can still have the meeting because we have two people, so that's a majority of the committee. So I'm not in any big rush, but is everybody pretty much ready now, or do we need to wait a minute?
I think we're good if you guys are ready, but
Okay, we're ready as far as I know. So y'all can start at any time, but just let me know that we're starting officially.
Go whenever you're ready, Commissioner Malthus.
Thank you. Okay, I'm Barry Malthus. I'm the chairman of the policy committee. And we appreciate all those that are here. We're in a new year now as of July for the policy committee, and so there'll be something to address in that a little bit in a few moments. But I'll be the policy committee chairman for this year yet again, and I appreciate everybody that is bothered to be on the call today to hear what we are talking about regarding the policies. We are thankful for all those that would be here, and I'm going to officially call the meeting to order at 3:02 and ask that Lori, if you don't mind, would read the statement of announcement.
Sure. A meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place. The July 12th, 2022 Policy Committee meeting was distributed July 11th, 2022 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistants, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is the invocation, which I'll do. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you for each person that we have the privilege to be a part of in the DDSN system. Thank you for each of those and for the reason that they were created along with everybody else. We are and we hope there's many of them on the call today that will be a part of listening in on what we have to say. We ask that you would be with us throughout this meeting and throughout the day and keep us safe, and I would ask that you would keep the storms away so that we could finish the meeting properly. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda.
Do you need a motion at this point on the adoption of the agenda?
Well, not really, because we just do it by acclamation if nobody says anything.
Okay. All right, fine.
Um, I'm just gonna say that if there's no objection, it's gonna be adopted in 2 seconds.
Good.
So it's adopted. So the agenda is adopted as written. We're obviously under unanimous consent, as we always are with these committees, with this committee. So the next item on the agenda is approval of the summary notes of the last meeting of January 14th. It's under tab 1, page 122, 1 to 2 of the packet, David. I don't have a change to it. If you don't have any, I haven't heard anything, so that we move on. That's approved. The minutes from the summary minutes from the last meeting, or summary notes, we call it. It's not actually minutes, for the record. It's notes of the meeting, really. So the next item on the agenda is the 800-07 DD, which is the Commission on Disability Special Needs Procedures. This is something that every committee chairman needs to do at their next meeting. It is something we do on an annual basis. And we're just here to approve the part that has to do with policy. And because the rest of them obviously are for the other chairmen to do. But we just looked at it because we look at it every year, but I have no changes to it. It was changed, I believe, at the end of this past year to make a slight change to it, but I have no changes to it at this time. I just want to note for the record that it does say that all policies and procedures are to come through the policy committee. And just like it did last year. And that would include any new policies for the human resources as well, as long as they were not a state policy, as long as they were a DDSN policy. But anyway, if I don't hear any changes needed to that document, we're going to approve it for this year. Hearing none, that document is approved for this year. The only other thing I wanted to mention, it's approved, but I just wanted to say for all those listening that it does say that when we put out something for public comment, it's a 10-day period that they have to comment. And so we would ask that they would strictly adhere to that 10-day period. And if something was brought in after that 10-day period, we'd ask that it not be considered because it was over the 10 days. The next item on the agenda is under old business is tab 3, is eligibility determination. And do you need a summary of that, David, or are you fine? It's one.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine.
The directive was posted for external review and no comments were received. And so obviously there's no objection, so the directive will be presented to the full commission for signing. So if I don't have an objection, that's what we'll do. So moving on to the next one, that's what we'll do for that one, which is eligibility determination. The next one is 53511 DD, which is appeals and reconciliation of decisions. That's another one that we went through and that was posted for external review. There was no comment received. And so a copy of the last revision is included, of course, in this packet. And there's assuming there's no objection, this will go to the full committee for signing. I mean, for approval and signing, of course. And with no objection, that's what we do. So the next item on the agenda is, and not every one of them will go this easy today, but these will. The next item on the agenda is the approval of crisis prevention criteria. That's something else we went through at the last meeting. and it went out for public comment. There was no comments received. And so it'll go to the the commission for approval and signing. The next item on the agenda is the 605 DD, which is behavioral support and psychiatric medication and prohibited practices. It's quite a similar document as the other one. It was reviewed last month in the policy committee, and it was put out for public comment, which is why we're going through it now again. But there was only one comment, and that was addressed. And so, with no other objections, this policy will be put out for the commission to review in this month and to approve this month, and it'll be recommended for approval, and we will move forward. The next item on the agenda is the item 304 DD, which is maintenance and repair and construction of DDSN owned facilities. It's number E of page 73 to 75 of the packet that you have, David. It's
Yep, I see it.
this directive is asked to be made obsolete because it's going to actually be a part of 305 DD. And so after much discussion and from last month, we pulled it. I mean, from a couple months ago, I believe we pulled it and made it a part of the main 305 DD, which is the maintenance and management and contract requirements for residential homes. So they'll both be the same document, basically, which is I think the best way to do that. I'm glad that we did that. There is one thing about that I wanted to bring up of this. One quick thing about this particular policy that I wanted to bring up. It's on page 77 of this in my packet. It's on the second page of this particular policy, and it says under interior components, I would just ask that we would move lighting fixtures from interior components and put it into custodial maintenance, because we already have electrical ballast and bulbs in custodial maintenance. And so I would think light fixtures would be logical to put in custodial maintenance.
I have no problem with that.
I would appreciate it if we could do that. Thank you, David. I think that would make perfect sense. The only other question I would have is to ask, under emergency on the same page, what does critical economy and effective efficiency mean? What does critical economy mean? Lori?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Harley speak to that.
Hi, Commissioner Malfrance. This is Harley Davis, CAO. That statement, it was written and it comes from emergency procurement language. I will reach out and get a better definition so that I can further expand upon what that exactly means for you. So.
It just, I mean, I don't understand why it's there, because it's under emergency, but a critical economy, I don't know what that means, whether it means they can't afford to make a fix or what. And
I agree with that, your question, in the sense of it's not clear here. And again, I just want to reference that it came from the emergency procurement is what we were pulling the definition from, but we'll make sure that that's clarified or defined here.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we could do that before the next commission meeting, because we're going to bring this before the commission meeting to be approved. Well, actually, we're going to put it out for 10-day comment, aren't we?
Yes, that's
Right.
accurate.
We'll try to.
Yeah, we
add
got to
some
put it out for comment
clarification.
anyway. So if you could do that before we put it out for comment, and it'll if there's any obviously, if there's any changes, we're gonna bring it back to the committee, correct? If there's any comments that we want to accept, we're gonna bring them back to the committee, correct?
It'll come back to you regardless, just like the first four that we went through today. So after it goes back to public comment, out for public comment, you guys will see it again.
Thank you, ma'am. That's the only change I had to this. I'm not gonna say anything else about it, for several reasons. So if there's no other changes to it that I would ask to make, we will see it next month. And if I don't hear an objection, it's gonna be approved. And so it has been approved. The next item on the agenda is sorry, I messed up. The next item on the agenda is under new business. Is residential needs. And am I correct about that? I've lost my place. We're at new business.
You are, that's where we are.
We're at tab 4. Okay, all right. Just want to make sure. I'm sorry. I'm flipping pages today for a couple of reasons I won't get into. But anyway, everything's not all in one place. I'm sorry, but it's out of our control today. But anyway, the staff are presenting this as a new directive, which incorporates a couple of others, C and D on our stuff. If there's no objections, we're gonna this is gonna go out for public comment. It really is just a combination of 2 other policies that's gonna go out for public comment, and then it'll come back to the policy committee on August 9th. At our next meeting. And so if there's no objection to that, then we're gonna move on and put that out for public comment for the next 10 days. I don't have any other changes to that one. So if I don't hear anything, I'm gonna move on to the next one. Okay, the next one is, that one, by the way, was 709 DD. The next one that we're doing is 703 DD, which is informed choice living, which is also a part of it's reflecting the changes in our new directive that we reviewed, which is under item A. Let me see, I've got something messed up here. Wait a second. 709. I'm sorry, y'all. I've messed up something here.
I think you had
Barry,
it.
Barry, why don't you just have staff pick up on the item and just let them read and interpret and let you kind of get together, but just let them take over the next item up.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Malphurs was correct. 703 was changed based on the addition of 709, which was the first one that he went over. And then the 2 following, 502.01 and 502.05, are both being made obsolete because the information that was in them has been incorporated into that new directive, which was 709. So these 4 directives kind of go together. 709 is the new one. Couple changes made to 703, and we're recommending making obsolete 502.01 and 502.05.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
we're
Sorry, there was one thing about the reason I've gone past myself is because I'm looking for it very quickly now, but there was one thing about, this one, which is, 709 DD that I was gonna bring up, but I'm
Okay,
trying to find it now to see what I was gonna bring up, unless I changed my mind between now and then. Oh, I knew what I was gonna bring up. I'm sorry. I passed 709, so we need to come back to it. I'm very sorry, but you always have to realize I'm not as organized as I normally am for reasons I won't get into today. I know that we have a committee that's going to, I'm assuming that's going to keep up with, that's going to make sure that this is not, that we don't have, that people don't have problems with if people do have problems and they need to move from one place to another, that we have that fixed through this committee, I'm assuming. But we just need to, I just wanted to reiterate that we need to keep in mind on page 86 and 87 of this document, primarily 86, that it talks about, which is 86 on my document, it's page 3 of the document itself, 709 DD, but it's 86 on our packet. And it talks about those with a spinal cord injury and those with head injuries that relate to that also relate to spinal cord injuries. So we just need to keep in mind that we need to be mindful that a lot of people that just have a spinal cord injury would not necessarily fit in well with somebody that had much more severe that had a much more severe difficulty. So we just need to keep that in mind whenever this committee is meeting to decide. The Residential Services Review Committee needs to keep that in mind, is what I wanted to say for the record, so that we don't have difficulties having to move people around because they're not suited for the place where they are, if you understand what I'm saying. I just wanted to kind of state that for the record so that to make people realize that I was mindful that could be a difficulty that the Residential Services Review Committee needs to keep in mind. But it's not really a change. I'm not asking for a change. I'm just asking for it to be, for whoever's on that committee to keep that very closely in mind. And we can talk about that another day if anybody has any specific questions about what I'm trying to say. But I think I hope I'm pretty clear about what I'm trying to say. Sometimes I'm not, so I apologize if I'm not, but this time I think I am. But anyway, I just wanted to say that about 709 DD, and then we wanted to, and then we're going to approve that, we're going to assume that 709 DD is approved, and that and that those other two documents, which is informed choice in living, preferred living, performance living, and residential needs are combined into this document. And so all that is approved if I don't hear an objection, and I'm going to move on to 50201 DD. Okay, so I'm moving on to 50201 DD. This is one we're just asking to be made obsolete due to the item A again. And so if I don't hear an objection, this one will be made obsolete. It's made obsolete. And then we go to the next one, which is 50205 DD, which is the waiting list. And this has been incorporated into our new residential needs directive, which is item A again. And so we're asking that this document be made obsolete. And obviously, let me remind y'all again that when I talk about making items obsolete, that we expect that list to be kept too of all the items that were made obsolete. That also is in our committee procedures that we just approved. So let's make sure that we put these on our obsolete list, please. And that moves us through 501, moves us through the waiting list. of 50205 DD. And then the next one is procedures of implementation of provider audit policy, which is a entirely different subject, which is 27504 DD. And the only thing about that one that I wanted to bring up was, since we're in a new world now with fee for service, we can no longer, we're not going to be able to any longer, unless we make some agreement with DHHS, we can't take funds from a provider. So it says that we will invoice if they have a, on page 193, it says we will invoice if they have a fine because they didn't get it completed in time, which it should have a fine, and it has very nice fines in there, and I'm glad for them. But
Alfred,
I
what
just,
page was that again?
this is on page 193 of it's on in 27504 DD. It's, I think it's on page 193 of my documents. It's
Okay, I got it.
it's under invoice. It just says that we're going to invoice them. If we have a fine, we're going to invoice them. It should say that we're going to invoice them, and we expect it to be paid in a certain amount of time, whether it's 30 days or 60 days or what, and that if not, we'll take further action. It don't just need to say that we're invoicing them, because they can invoice and not pay. So we can invoice and they not pay. So we need to put something in there that says it's on page.
What time frame would you like to use? If it
I
hasn't been
mean,
paid
30
in?
days would be nice to me, but I mean, I would take 30 or 60, whatever y'all think. But I would think 30, that they should be able to pay it in 30 days, or we'll take further action.
Barry, if they don't pay it, what's the recourse?
Well, we could take further action and force them to pay it, just like you would with any other debt somebody owes you.
Why don't we just say additional collection efforts will be made if not paid within a certain amount of time?
Within,
Well,
that's fine. You want to say 60 days? You want to say 40, 45? What do you want to say, 30?
The invoice that they receive asks that they pay within 30 days.
Right, but if we say additional collection efforts, usually they give some kind of grace period. So why don't we say 60 or 90?
Okay, well, if we ask them to pay it in 30, it's fine. And then we say, if you don't pay it in 60, we're going to make efforts to get it then. We're going to make efforts to collect it.
Barry, I think one of the things is that the full commission needs to know if somebody is stonewalling and not then you impose a fine, then they're not going to pay the fine. The commission needs to be aware of that. I think that needs to be, the lack of cooperation under this section must, if the entity fails to pay, this should be reported as to the entire commission to determine what further action is necessary. And I think you lay it before the commission to be aware that there's a rogue group out there that's just being obtuse.
Mr. Chairman, can we ask staff if this has been a problem in the past, and if this in fact has come up in the past?
So in
Well,
the,
you could ask that, except it hasn't been a problem in the past because we were because of the way we would just automatically take the money because we weren't on fee for service. But this could be a problem because of fee for service is what I'm saying.
Yeah, things
When
things
we were
have
on the
now
band
changed.
system, it wouldn't matter. When we were on the band system, it wouldn't matter because we could just recoup the money. But now we're not.
That's right. That makes sense. I get you now. I wasn't sure what
See what I'm
you
saying?
meant, but that's you're exactly right. Yeah. Got it.
we can also recoup the money if the provider is billing us for state funded services. This is really only going to be an issue if the provider only provides Medicaid funded services, right? So
Well, it could be, but I'm just want to make sure that we get this straight and we say but you also, if you do it that way, Lori, it's fine, but you need to be able to say that if you don't pay it, we're going to recoup it from those state funds.
But
Because-
we had to have, Barry, we had, last time we met, we got into the issue of DHEC's approval because it was being done through DHEC, and therefore DHEC would have to be drawn into this. Yeah, would staff please comment on that and confirm that this is what we're talking about here, that was the problem from a month ago?
I don't think so. I think this is something a little bit different because where DHEC was involved, it was a DHEC licensed facility. It was a DHEC fine, not a DDSN fine to a provider in the provider network. So it's a little bit.
All right.
different.
Okay, I thought it was the one where DHEC, where the monies now go through DHEC. This is a, and that
No,
is
this
the
would be
case
a
here,
DDSN
right?
fine, David.
Services, maybe, Commissioner Thomas, instead of
Yeah.
DHHS, the Department of Health and Human Services. The Medicaid
I-
funds the providers are billing them directly instead of us paying them for the services when it's a waiver funded service.
Yeah.
So I think that's the distinction.
All right, so this has nothing to do, I said DHEC and it's DHHS, that Robbie Kerr's group, I mean, okay,
Yes.
and so this has nothing. Yeah, all right, all right, let's back up. All right, back up to a month ago. We discussed this a month ago, and unless somehow there's something different, I mean, I thought that was exactly what we discussed, that if we were going to impose a penalty, because it was now being funneled not with a fee for service, not with a band system, we had no recourse but to go somehow through DHHS to do some sort of a penalty. And so we were going to give this a month to try to figure this out, how to impose a penalty. All right, correct me. That's not what we discussed a month ago?
It wasn't surrounding a fine related to an audit.
It was, it was when we had Ann Dalton was presenting under our quality management.
Right.
But very similar, conceptually, in the sense that because we no longer hold, since with direct bill, the only monies that will flow from us are the state funded services, which was, Lori was describing that for all providers who provide both waiver services and state funded services, we would be able to still withhold. It would only be an issue for those who provide only waiver services. But I think we can put in this language that if the monies are not paid within 60 days, we will take additional action to receive the monies.
But by way of withholding, and I think you do that by taking the matter before a full commission, possibly in executive session, and explaining to the commission the problem, and then let the commission vote to withhold funds.
Well, I mean, do we need to vote to withhold funds? I mean, it says we're going to withhold it if they don't pay it. So,
Well, who makes the decision to do that?
well,
Is
our
that a
document
staff
does.
Is that a
I
staff
think
decision? Is that a committee
It's
decision?
automatically done.
I mean, the commission could be informed that this was happening, but I think that we would automatically take the money because our policy says we take the money. And
So
it
it's a
would only
staff,
be,
it's a,
just like with every other
So
time
it-
we've done it. Just like with every other time we've done it through the band payment system, except this time it's fee for service, so we have to do it a little bit different way. But we still have to make sure that we get it, that's all I'm saying.
well,
Because I think
all right,
so-
let's let staff then come up with the exact language that if
That's
it's not
fine.
paid within 45 days or 60 days, then there shall be an automatic, and let's just say automatically, that there shall be, the penalty invoked.
Well,
And this matter
well,
shall be,
the payment
I
would be
think,
made. We're just gonna let them
I
say
think
that it would be, that they would take further action and they would, and that would include taking the money because
what's the further action other than taking the money?
well, which would include further, well, letting us know, letting the commission know that that person somehow did that, so we'd know who was being.
All right. Then you just say that money shall automatically, if this fee has not been or the money has not been paid, penalty has not been paid within 60 days, then their funds, boom, use the language, shall be automatically withdrawn from being passed to them, and such action shall be reported to the full commission.
Right, and if we can't take it for whatever reason, like we're talking about with these people, we can't take it because they don't do, we don't do state funded services for those, we'll just take collection action. That's all you would say. I just want to make sure it's clear in there so that because we're a fee for service, it's just a different, it's a different ballgame.
All right, all right, I want to make sure from the staff, is it clear what we're trying to do? And is the language such that y'all drawn it up according to what we're trying to do? Is the staff okay with it?
So the old language prior to the revision to the policy said that the financial sanction would be deducted from subsequent contract payments. We changed that language. This is before this meeting, right? We changed that language because there was concern from staff that perhaps there wouldn't be a contracted amount that we could take the payment from, right? Because if we ever get to a point where we're dealing with a provider who doesn't have any state funded services, there might not be a contract amount to reduce. So
Correct.
we changed the wording to the provider would be invoiced. So what I'm hearing from you guys is you want something stronger in the language to say, if you don't pay your invoice in X amount of time, something will happen.
That's right.
Not something.
My suggestion would be that we put something in there like additional collection efforts will be made if you haven't paid your invoice within 60 days.
No, that doesn't say that. Let's say they stonewall a collector calling. I mean, what's the collection action? That they've got to have money withdrawn some kind of way is what Barry's point was. This is just not an invoice, so you can't keep rolling out the idea of there's going to be a dunning action going on without a final consequence of money being actually removed from monies that would have gone to them. And you got to name the amount and how much goes, and we're reporting this to the commission that staff had to take this action based on the policy.
So we
Well,
can
David,
change
what
the
she's trying to say is there's some people we can't take money from because they don't have state funded services. They only do.
That we have discussed this a month ago, and we were rolling over how could it be done, and that's why I brought this up. That there's another agency that was involved, and it was HHS Kerrs Group, and now that we're tied in with fee for service, it couldn't be done that way. I understand that there are two levels we're talking about, but I'm looking for staff, since you and I aren't the technicians, to come up with how this can be done to cover a refusal to do what they're supposed to be doing. And there's got to be some sort of a way to bring an action that where there's a consequence, not just a letter, hey, you owe the money. That won't work. It's not going to work. So I'm asking staff, what is the solution to that has real life consequences?
What if I propose that we use the language that Lori just said, but we add a clause at the end that says up to, including but not limited to, legal action or intergovernmental transfers as available.
Sounds fine to
Yeah,
me.
you're gonna have to put that such a consequence must be reported to the commission to determine from the commission if other actions are possible and available. I mean, this has got to go to the commission. Well, it's a pretty serious thing that if this happens, you got a group that's like, yeah, I'm not gonna pay this, and their lawyers say, you don't have to pay that if you don't want to. They've got no means to make you pay it, or to make you do it. Therefore,
Right, so we just need to do what she just said and then say that the commission will be informed of this matter. That's all you say. Where are they going to inform us, right?
To determine if any other actions should be taken to obtain the results that we're looking for. And I think, Barry, it was you originally who said back 2 meetings ago, perhaps, that you had to have something that had some kind of a characteristic of a real penalty to the lack of cooperation here.
Well, that's right. I was actually referring to the grades that we give them for compliance. But yeah, this is actually a fine for not turning in their proper documentation. But I was actually speaking of, and it's the same principle here. But I was speaking of that we need to do something about fining them or doing something to make it more difficult on them because they weren't they weren't reaching the grade they needed to comply. But yeah, but it's the same principle. It's just a different reason they're getting the fine. But yeah, I think we need fines in that regard, but that's another story for another day. That's what I'm hoping we're bringing up.
At the very minimum,
we're bringing up before the end of the year, but
that's not at the very minimum. Barry, may I speak?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Barry, at the very minimum, we need to have information. If staff runs into this situation where a fine has been imposed, they refuse to pay the fine, and whatever language, 30 days, 60 days, if there's nothing that really fits that staff could come up with that would impose the withdrawal of funds in some form or fashion at some place in the workings, then this at least needs to be reported to the full commission to determine if the commission, first of all, they just need to know that there's a group being intransigent with our staff. I mean, this is almost like, look, the staff is saying that, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So don't expect us with it. We don't have anything we don't have a stick here. We don't have anything to make them do this. Then we can't expect the staff to work miracles. The commission needs to know about it. And then in the policy directive, it needs to say for determination by the commission to find if there are any other ways to obtain cooperation from under this section. So you can let the commission know, and maybe there's nothing that can be done. But at least now you can get this to the level of executive director talking to executive director. Perhaps that would be a solution rather than an arbitrary withdrawal of funds somehow. Okay, report it to the commission. Staff says, here it is. We tried. They're stonewalling us, and the commission needs to know this so that you can take whatever action you want to, but we're required to report that there's this problem. So let's stick that in as an alternative, Barry, then let it go to the commission, and then staff's not under pressure if the thing hadn't been paid. They've done all they could do to get the reporting all lined up and everything. And if there's a difficulty under any of the scenarios that we've been talking about, I think there are two that as I understand it, two different kinds of things. I thought it was just one, but then to let the commission know, and then to let us as a group. And you got an executive director, and the executive director can perhaps intervene, and let's see if that would work out. Well, what about that, Barry?
I don't have a problem with that if they want to put that in there somehow to where we would be informed. But I just don't want the commission to have to vote to take the action, because we should already take it because they haven't paid the bill. But I was just thinking that I didn't want the commission to have to vote on taking an action that we should already be taking because they haven't paid the bill. And I think what
there's not a
Ms.
vote.
Five was
It's
talking about is precisely
Barry,
what we need to do.
Barry, it's information. It's just
Yeah, I know.
information
I
that goes to the
understand.
commission
They
to
need to
make.
let us know. They need to inform us. I understand, but we just need to. As soon as they inform us, we just need to go to the next step, whatever that next step is, which I would guess would be legal action.
The step that I'm talking about is letting the commission know what is going on, and now let the commission come up with an answer.
So what if we add the language that Dr. Price suggested, and then we just put in a statement that the commission will be informed of any instances where we have to enact further action to get people to pay their invoice? Will that work?
That's fine with me, David. Is that all right with you?
I'm still back to you've got a collection entity out there now. Where is your legal authority for having a collection going on? Is this money that is owed that is somehow collectible under the debtors? Under federal law or something? You send an invoice out to.
It's under a contract. It's in a contract, so it's collectible under a contract, just like any other contract that anybody else would have on the outside. Correct, Michelle? Right.
I think with the wording, when we say further collection, additional collection efforts, I wasn't necessarily going straight to hiring a collection agency. I was really thinking,
No, I wouldn't either.
we're going to invoice them, they don't pay. We're going to make these additional efforts to get our money. If we have a contract with you and we're paying you state monies, perhaps the first thing we do is we pull it back from that contract. If we don't have a contract with you, perhaps we talk to Health and Human Services to see if there's a way to collect the money through the payments that they're making to them. I wasn't, the wording of additional collection efforts didn't mean we're going to call collection agency. Not in my world anyway.
I understand what you're saying. I don't think we can. Well, I mean, we could. We don't want. A collection agency is not what I had in mind. What I was thinking was, they would collect it in one of the ways you're just talking about. I assume it would never happen to where they wouldn't collect it in one of the ways you're talking about. I just want people on this call and every other reading this policy to realize that you're not going to get away without paying it just because we're doing fee for service now. That's all I was getting at. But I think that the way y'all are talking about doing it would cover it for me, as long as the commission was informed that we had these collection problems. That's all we're informing the commission as to how we would handle it.
Barry, if you want to say informed, that's fine. That's not. I will tell the commission when we take this up that I don't think that's sufficient. It's not just a matter of, by the way, we've had a problem with this particular thing. If we don't put something in the statement that says, and the commission may take whatever action it deems necessary to enforce. If you don't use those words, then all it is just, hey, here's what happened. And then you go to the next item on the agenda, whatever the agenda is then. So that's why you keep just saying be informed. It's more than just information. They may take then further action as deemed necessary, appropriate, or contractually sufficient. That way it opens it up for discussion. It's not just a matter of transparency. It's a matter of, all right, we've run into a problem at this level, and we don't quite know what to do with it. So commission, the policy says we're supposed to come to you to inform you and to seek, if you want to do something, bam, it says that you can take action. And then the discussion's open. Why in the world is this group not paying what they're supposed to be? You know, if it's a HHS issue, you know, the exec goes to their exec perhaps. But if it's something else in the contract, perhaps you get lawyers involved, and then, you know, maybe you're suddenly in front of an administrative law judge. So my request is to make it slightly more expansive. If there's a refusal to pay, make it more expansive than just an information transfer. It's all right, commission. You have the authority according to the policy to now take an action if you want to.
So we can add that in. I think my question before I add it in is, does the commission want to be informed anytime an invoice is paid late? Or do you want to be informed at a certain stage of that, right? So
no, not if it's paid late. Not if it's paid late. If after 60 days it has not been paid and staff has done everything they can do to get the collection done, and you find that the entity is just stiffing you, then you send them a letter. Look, we're going to take this to the full commission if you don't do something by way of paying within 10 days or something. So you're kind of working it out in the weeds at that point in time, but it's not just, oh, we got a late payment. No, they've already paid. If it's a late payment, then you're not having to take extraordinary action by bringing it before the commission. So it would only be a case where the guy or the entity has refused to pay, and all you're getting is a stiff arm. And then you say, look, we're going to have to report this to commission, and under the policy, you know, they can take further action. Why don't you just send us a check and quit giving us a hard time, because we got better things to do.
So I'll work on a little bit of language. I think I understand now. I'll work on.
I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you all. I'm trying to give you a stick to work with here.
So I'll work on some language and get it to you guys before the full commission meeting, because this one doesn't have to go out for public comment. So it's going to go to the commission this month for signing. So I'll get you some language ahead of time, but I think I understand how you want it added, and so we'll get you something.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you. And the same, anyway, that's 27504 DD, and the same language would go for 27506 DD. It's the same exact, it's a similar contract. So it'd be the same exact language in there is what I was going to bring up. So we just need to do it for both of those policies, is what I'm saying. Because we still need to be able to collect those funds in some way or another. So that's the only thing I was going to say about 27506 DD. And otherwise, I had nothing else to bring up about that. And then, so David, if you don't have a problem with us putting the same language in both 27504 and 27506, then we'll be fine.
That's fine. That's fine. And by the way, if I was just sitting here thinking as you were talking, you know, the buck could be passed either to the commission or to the executive director for in this case for her to make a decision about something extraordinary. I just, you know, when you do something like that, and it's outside the confines of sort of the you know, downtown office, I almost feel like, well, the commission sort of needs to know about this, especially if it's a group that we got a contract with, or another agency's not, you know. So we do need to know, David. I 100% agree with you. We need to know. The only thing I was trying to prevent was
I was wanting the executive director to be able to take action without the commission having to vote to take action, because we don't want the commission to vote not to take action, because obviously that's what the contract says, we're gonna take action. So.
Well,
we
the
just wanna-
the commission's more likely to be rather irritated at at a group not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and maybe even on the contract side, modify the contract in the future.
Well, I guess that's what we're doing now, trying to modify this contract so that, or this policy, so that the contracts would say, so that we would be able to collect the money. But we can look at what they put down, and then we can look at it before at the commission meeting. And if we want to bring it back to the policy committee, we can, or if we can just let it go through, because it's this one doesn't have to go to public comment. I don't think. No, it
Okay,
doesn't. So,
all right. Yeah, I'm fine with putting them both together and using the same or virtually identical language apropos to each of the different things. So that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, then that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna approve to do both on that, and we'll be looking for Lori to give us a couple of sentences in that regard. But it would basically give the authority to commission and/or executive director to take action. So, primarily the executive director, I would think, but anyway, and then so both of those directives are approved as we've discussed for a while. And that's the last item on my agenda, unless there's something else that somebody has inadvertently not brought up, or something we need to talk about for information reasons today. I don't really think we can vote on anything else because there's nothing else on the agenda. But the only other thing I would say is the next meeting is August the 9th, and it'll likely be the same time or a very similar time, 3 or 3:30, whatever we decide to do, more likely 3 o'clock. And other than that, if nobody has anything else, I'm going to ask that I need a motion to adjourn technically, so I'll ask for that.
I don't think you do. I actually don't think you do, because we adopted the agenda and adjournment is on the agenda. So you could just say, and I hereby adjourn this meeting. But I'll move it if you want it. I move we adjourn.
Okay, I thought we had to based on what unanimous consent says, but I may be wrong. I need to look at it again. I hadn't looked at it in months. But anyway, but I just motioned seconded, so we're adjourned. David just motioned and I seconded, so we're adjourned. And there's only 2 of us.
There you
go.
go. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.